This just freezes most times. It freezes. It might freeze.
All right, good evening, everybody. I hate to interrupt the conversation, but that may be the only way I can get this group over here to stop talking. It's good to see everybody tonight. Glad you're here for our study. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. And I do hope everybody's paying attention to the weather. I was glad they said the snow looks like it shifted a little further north, but we are going to be dealing with ice.
I'd rather have snow with that.
I would too. But everybody make sure you're aware and safe. And Melissa's mad at me right now because I got to go to Tennessee tomorrow. And she's not real happy about it. So be safe and watch the weather. We're going to get into our study tonight. We've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. I'm going to go ahead and warn you, I'm going to be talking fast. Faster than I normally do, because people say I talk fast anyways. So I was telling Brother Clyde and Sister Flo earlier, keep up as we go. Let's begin tonight with a word of prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all the blessings you've given us of this day, of this week. We thank you for the opportunity that we now have as like-minded Christians to be in this place and to have this study before us. Father, I pray as we near the end of this study of Judges that we can see the spiral of what this is and knowing the phrase, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. We see the application from this, from their lessons of what not to do in our own lives. But Father, I pray we see your grace throughout it all. Father, we ask that you be with those of our number who are sick, be with those who are struggling. Father, comfort those who are going through those things. Be with us this week with the weather. Be with all those in the north. Several we know have lost their lives. Father, we pray that you be with those families. Be with us all, Father. Father, we ask that you forgive us for our many unforgiven sins. Guide us throughout the rest of this week, the rest of our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Judges chapter 20 tonight. Now, if you look at Judges chapter 20, you'll notice something, I guess, pretty obvious. There's 48 verses in Judges chapter 20. There's 25 in Judges chapter 21. We're covering them all tonight. So, lofty, ambitious goal, but really we're going to look at chapter 20, and then I'm going to generalize chapter 21. So we are going to get moving. Chapter 20 is the continuation of the awful chapter that is chapter 19. So if you were here this past study, this past week on Thursday, then you know what we've already been into in Judges chapter 19. But just so that you at least can, it's on the top of your mind, or at the forefront of your mind as we get going, chapter 19 centered around this Levite man, priestly man, who went to Bethlehem to get his concubine, his second wife, who had ran off from her husband, went back to her father's house in Bethlehem, and he goes to get his concubine. If you remember, this is what makes this so heartbreaking. If you weren't in here, don't be confused by the phrase concubine. Okay? It means second wife. Now, not wife of any inheritance, lineage, any of that. It's just you're the wife of pleasure, basically. But he makes this trip. He goes and gets her, and then he makes this dumb decision to begin the trip home in the afternoon. knowing that they won't make it. So they start passing along the side of Jebus. They don't want to stop at Jebus because they're worried about the wickedness and evilness of the Jebusites. And so he wants to make it to Gibeah because Gibeah is a city of Benjamin. They're Israelites. They'll be safer. Things will just be better if they can get to Gibeah. That's when the farmer comes in from the field that night, gets with his Levite, takes him back home, and that's when things go downhill very quickly. Because that's when the homosexual, perverted men of the city come knocking on the door of this man that let them in, and they want the Levite. They are going to rape the Levite man. The master of the house pulls a lot from Genesis 19, tries to send out his virgin daughter, tries to send out the man's concubine. It's not satisfactory for any of them. That's not what they want. They want the man. The man then proceeds to kind of hand his own concubine, the wife that he had to track down, basically pushes her out the door and gives her to them. The same wife, by the way, he was so adamant to track down because he loved her so much when it was convenient. So he hands her over in this horrible, disgusting story. They take this woman, they rape her all night long. They let her go at dawn. She's able to somehow get back to the house where they are. She makes it to the stoop, the steps, and then she dies at the cross base of the door. In fact, it says she dies with her hands on the stoop right there. It's like she's holding on the door when she dies. The Levite gets up that morning. He's ready to go home. He opens the door, almost like he just kind of steps out over her. Looks at her and says, all right, get up, time to go home. Heartless. But then he realizes she's dead. From there, it just keeps getting worse because the man then takes the body of his wife, his concubine, that he cared so much about. He takes her back home to the mountains of Ephraim, somewhere around Ramah, that area, and then proceeds with the body to cut her into 12 pieces. And then he sends with those 12 pieces messengers to the 12 tribes to tell them what's happened. The question was asked this past day, I think Ms. Flo asked the question, why would you do that? You do that because you're sending a message to them. And the chapter closes with this statement, consider, confer, and speak up. That's the man's message to them because he's now supposedly outraged by what's happened, even though he's only outraged after the fact. But what you're going to find out is so are the people of Israel. Chapter 20, verse 1. So all the children of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, as well as from the land of Gilead. And the congregation gathered together as one man before the Lord at Mizpah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. Then the children of Israel said, tell us, how did this wicked deed happen? So the nation is reacting like you would think they're going to. And I'd say it's obvious you're going to react that way because if you just receive a random body part of a person, you're going to feel some way about that. Like you're not just going to go, okay, hey, thanks. You're going to ask questions. So we jump straight ahead to the Bible saying that 400,000 soldiers are now gathered together at Mizpah, even from the land of Gilead. Don't be confused by that. What it means by the land of Gilead means it's not just the tribes on the west side of the Jordan. It's not just Israel. Even the tribes on the east side, Gilead's the east side, even they join in and they're mad about it. So every tribe of Israel now, except for Benjamin, Benjamin's not invited here. Everyone else is now sending people in. Everyone's irate about this, except the tribe of Benjamin. Now, why come together at Mizpah? If you don't know where Mizpah is, you see Gibeah right here above Jebus, and you can see the journey, right? You see Bethlehem, where they came from, right here. They go around Jebus to Gibeah. Well, they're over here in Mizpah now. Why would you go to Mizpah? Well, you're on the outskirts of Gibeah. We can get a sense of what's coming when you move the entire army to the next door neighbor. You get a sense of what's coming. There's about to be a war. Now, I want you to notice something real quick. When it says they presented themselves together to the Lord, there's no indication the tabernacle is there. Okay? More specifically, that the Ark of the Covenant is there. The phrase means, and I'm emphasizing that because of what's coming. The phrase means that they're considering what they're doing now to be under the guidance of God. So we're acting on the part of God here. Except there's a very big problem. No one's talked to God yet. No one's asked God what we should be doing. First, they want to hear from the Levite. So the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said to him, "My concubine and I went to Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night. And the men of Gibeah rose against me and surrounded the house at night because of me. They intended to kill me, but instead they ravished my concubine so that she died." Now, hang on a second. Do you see what's left out of the story? Hey, whoops, I forgot to mention the detail where I'm the one that pushed her out the door. Now oh no, they tried to kill me and they just took her from me and yeah, you left a lot out of that story right there.
Also, you forgot to tell them, oh, they wanted to do all the sexual stuff with me and all that.
He didn't go into detail on that. He just says they tried to get me. They were trying to kill me. No, they wanted to do something else with you. But you basically pushed this wife you cared about so much. You pushed her out the door. Well, now he's got to justify what he did. Verse 6, "So I took hold of my concubine, I cut her into pieces, and sent her throughout all the territory of the inheritance of Israel, because they committed lewdness and outrage in Israel. Look, all of your children of Israel, give your advice and counsel here and now." He almost makes you feel sorry for him. He's good at laying it on. When in reality, I only feel sorry for the woman's father at this point in time. But the Levite, he's gotten the response he wanted. He wanted everybody to get fired up about this. And you actually see the people's response. So all the people arose as one man saying, "None of us will go home. None of us will turn back to his house. But now this is the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot. We will take 10 men out of every 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, 100 out of every 1,000, and 1,000 out of every 10,000, to make provision for the people, that when they come to Gibeah in Benjamin, they may repay all the vileness that they have done in Israel." So notice what they're doing here. They're outraged by this. That's the response the Levite wanted. And again, it's kind of hard to be surprised when you get a random body part delivered to you. You're going to be outraged by this. So now 400,000 soldiers are ready to fight against their own people. And while you hate to hear something like that there's about to be a civil war, there's an aspect where this is commendable. Because it's not just the fact that it's a civil war. What they're trying to do is say, listen, nothing like this wicked garbage is going to happen again. Like, we're not going to let this happen again. But you're about to see the problem unfolding, and actually more than the obvious one you might expect. But I want you to think about this phrase. In fact, if you look online later, you'll see my title for this lesson. Have you ever heard this phrase before? Misplaced loyalty. You heard that phrase before? Is loyalty a good thing? Sure it is. Loyalty is a good thing. We know that. People are loyal to their family. They're loyal to friends. They should be loyal to God. But when loyalty is misplaced, there begins a cascade effect. I want you to think about that because you're going to see the cascade effect. So all the men of Israel, verse 11, were gathered against the city, united together as one man. 400,000, one man. Then the tribes of Israel sent men throughout all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What is this wickedness that has occurred among you? Now therefore deliver up the men, the perverted men who are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and remove the evil from Israel." But the children of Benjamin, would not listen to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. So even though you have 400,000 soldiers sitting on go, I mean, you're ready to go to war, they first try the peaceful solution. We don't want to go to war. What do they want? They want the men that did this. That's all they want. They want was it 5, 6, 10, 50? We don't know how many men it was. That's who they want. We want the wicked men of Gibeah. We don't want to go to war. The land is going to be purged from this evil. We don't want it to linger. We don't want it to continue. Do you know my problem with this section right here? Maybe some of you have wondered the same thing. Here's my problem. Where was the outrage when Dan started setting up their high place to worship God? They set up their own priests. They set up these false ephod, the false idols. Where was the outrage when all that was happening?
Judah had some.
They did have a little bit. But where are 400,000 soldiers? Where are the 400,000 soldiers when Micah started this process, when he basically made his son a priest, who's not a Levite, built the ephod, did all this stuff? Where was the outrage then? The rape, murder, now we have to act. Right? We weren't concerned about this, now we're concerned about this. If you're the leaders of Benjamin, what would you do here? If this is you, what would you do? We don't want to go to war. We got 400,000. We don't want to go to war. We just want these men. What would you do?
Give them up. You did wrong.
If you are a godly person in Benjamin, and you know what's happened, what should you want to do anyways?
Give them up.
You know what? I'll take them. I don't want any of this wickedness around. But that's not what they do. They don't listen to their fellow Israelites, and instead, they choose to defend these vile men. They're loyal, but boy, is it misplaced. In verse 13, some translations use the phrase perverted men, which is what I use New King James, that's what it uses. Others use the phrase worthless men, but the point is made clear. I know the King James does, and there's a couple other translations that does. And I think Lane actually asked about this last week, where the people who give the Benjamites are now defending are called the children of Belial. And Lane asked the question, what does that mean, children of Belial? Layman's terms is sons of the devil. Belial is just another term for Satan. Belial, Beelzebub, their terms for Satan. So we're told that these are children of Satan. But Benjamin is ready to go to war to protect them, instead of wanting that removed from their midst. I want you to remember a thought here, because this is what just comes to my mind as I'm studying this. Have you ever noticed how there are people who will jump to protect some poison in their life? By that I mean, do you know somebody who's more than willing to jump up and defend just an awful person who does awful things? You're going to fight to keep that awful person around you. You're always going to defend them. It always ends the same way, but that's just the way you go about it. You think about, and there's a lot of psychological impact in this too, when you think about like abusive relationships, how he won't leave them. That's in a sense what we have here is this misplaced loyalty. So verse 14, here we go. Instead, the children of Benjamin gathered together from their cities to Gibeah to go to battle against the children of Israel. And from the cities at the time, the children of Benjamin numbered 26,000 men who drew the swords, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, who numbered 700 select men. Among all this people were 700 select men who were left-handed, and everyone could sling a stone at a hair's breadth and not miss. Now, see, I can't believe Marshall's not out here getting excited for this part right here. This is a man's man right here, okay? This feels like somebody I get along well with. We relate a lot of things. So, you have 26,000 men, and you get this weird comment about 700. Don't blink on this outmanned army here, okay? These 700 men are basically the Green Berets. You see that phrase, they can sling a stone at a hair's breadth? Don't think, I actually put a picture, I thought I put a picture here. Don't think about this like the kid's slingshot with a little white post and a rubber band. This is the sling that they would use. You'd put a stone there, a little bit smaller than a baseball, and you sit here and just swing and just let it go. That phrase that they can sling a stone at a hair's breadth, they're deadly accurate is what they're saying. Not only that, we actually know, and people still demonstrate it in Israel today, not only are they accurate, you're accurate with that up to 200 yards. And you think, well, it's just a rock. How bad does it really hurt? They actually measured this. Coming off that sling, it comes off the sling at 150 miles per hour. It hurts. In fact, do you remember what it was that David used in killing Goliath? Slinging a stone. It's always irritating when you see the kids' pictures like David sitting there holding a slingshot. That's not what that was. And by the way, it wasn't a little pebble like you see either. I mean, this was basically a little bit smaller than a baseball. And they're sitting here, 700 of them, they can just, well, they're left-handed, they can just zip it 200 yards and hit it a hair's breadth. That's how accurate they were. These are the Green Berets. It is interesting, by the way, we're told that, yes, sir?
Why is it pointed out that they're left-handed?
Now, it's interesting that we're told they're left-handed. That's actually where I was going, Bob. Thank you.
Because most people were right-handed. I'm just curious.
I don't know, most people raise their hand to ask questions. Silly thing, you know. No, so, interestingly enough, we're told a few different occasions where people in the Bible are left-handed. Would you like to guess where every one of them are from? Remember Ehud from earlier? The second judge we looked at? He's from Benjamin. They're from Benjamin. 1 Samuel, they're from Benjamin. Every time we hear about these left-handed people, they're from Benjamin. Now, there were a lot of benefits to being left-handed. We're not told why. They're not giving us the details as to why it matters they're left-handed. But we talked about this with Ehud, that because the majority of the world is right-handed, you have an advantage. In fact, if you actually look at the drawings of even city gates, they were always slanted a little bit to the right. Which means if you're left-handed, you can now get behind the gate and you can sit there and sling stones. You're protected. So when it says that they're left-handed, what they're really saying is that they've got a tactical advantage that most people don't have. Society today says left-handed, you're typically not weaker. It's culture doesn't set you up for left-handed. Everything's set up to be right-handed. Here it's talking about an advantage. Every time it talks about left-handedness, there's some military advantage to it. So it's telling us that to tell us, hey, these guys are here pretty special. It's not just a ho-hum kind of army here. I mean, these are like Green Beret kind of people. These are serious military folks.
I'm not sure if this is that relevant or not, but think about in the culture, in some cultures, how people like right hand or left hand is thought of. Some cultures regard the left-handedness as something that was a sign that they were evil or predestined for crime or something like that. In fact, in a lot of languages like the Romance languages, the word sinister, we have an English word sinister, which basically means bad, evil, dark, negative. There's a word in Italian called sinistro, and that means left hand.
Yeah. And
the idea is that in their culture, the left hand, people with the left hand were evil, so they were trying to force everybody to be right-handed. In this culture here, in Israel, being left-handed was considered an advantage.
Well, it was an advantage. In fact, if you think about it, most left-handed. Is anybody in here left-handed, by the way?
Me.
All right. So, let me give you an example. I'm right-handed. You know what my left hand is good for? Nothing. I can't do anything with my not really. I mean, I need it, but I could take an axe. We're chopping some firewood with it. I could take an axe. I'm right-handed. I'm dead on every time. Let me swap hands, and I'm gonna cut my leg off. I can't control it. But it's fascinating to me. Most ambidextrous people are left-handed because everything's geared. Are you left-handed? Explains a lot. But the whole point of this is saying that they have a tactical advantage. Now keep in mind, you're 26,000 versus 400,000. I don't know what you think this tactical advantage is really going to be. But these are soldiers here. These 700 are specified out separate from the 26,000 to tell us these are soldiers. Any of the other left? Are you ambidextrous? Really? You? Who is? Are you ambidextrous? Man, I didn't get with it.
Well, is it true that left-handed people are smarter than right-handed people?
No, left-handed people aren't right. Had to do it. No, you hear all kinds of stuff like that. No, my father-in-law was left-handed, and it's funny. He can do a lot right-handed except write, but he can write right-handed. If I try to write left-handed, I can't hold the pencil right in my left hand. Like I can't do it. So my left hand's basically useless.
Well, most left-handed people, of course, should be ambidextrous.
Should be right, yeah.
Because
You're right.
from elementary school.
You know, I was telling you about my brother-in-law. He had a stroke. He's left-handed, but they said he lost a lot of his communication skills. But they say a left-handed person has some skills that right-handed people don't have, according to communication. So they may have been a little better off in some ways.
So we are smarter.
Well, in some way.
There might be like a rare, minute possibility of a case, like to the 100th of a percent of something. Yeah. Don't get a big head. All right, we got to get back moving. Bob got us distracted over every question. All right, verse 17. Now, besides Benjamin, the men of Israel numbered 400,000 men who drew the sword, all these men of war. Then the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God to inquire of God. They said, which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin? The Lord said, Judah first. So the children of Israel rose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. Now this is a different statement than we had earlier. I want to draw out the difference here. The leaders here now go to what's called the house of God. Now they're trying to inquire what to do. The house of God is not in Mizpah where they are. It's not in Gibeah where they're trying to go. We know the tabernacle was housed in Shiloh. Point is, they're going to the tabernacle to the Ark of the Covenant. Although, you'll see why here in a minute, it's very likely the Ark has been moved. When it says house of God right there, does anybody's translation say Bethel? Or does it all say house of God here? It'll say Bethel in a minute. But does anybody's translation say Bethel? Yours does? So house of God, that word is literally Bethel. So we get the translated word for Bethel, which is house of God. So now the question comes up when it says they went to the house of God, did they go to Shiloh or did they go to Bethel? Contextually speaking, they probably went to Bethel. So the ark had to be moved. That wasn't uncommon. If you were in a battle somewhere, they'd bring the ark relatively close. You didn't take it to the battle, except, well, they will later on. But you'd move it a little bit closer. The point is, they go to God. Now, here's the question they ask. Which of us should go up first to battle Benjamin? God's going to tell them Judah. Should that be the first question asked? So you imagine it like this. Let's just say you walk up to the tabernacle. God, which of us here, it's me and Lisa right here, which of us should go fight Benjamin? I'd probably choose Lisa. She's meaner than I am. But who would... I'm just kidding. Which of us should go fight? What do you think the first question should be? God, should we go fight Benjamin? Now, question is, how did they get their answer? Did God just speak to them and tell them Judah? We're not told directly how they got their answer. Now, we do know there's a process for this. In the high priest's vest that he wore, there were two stones. Anybody remember what they're called? The Urim and the Thummim. And you had a yes stone and a no stone. So you think about it like this. Somebody from Simeon, the representative of Simeon, stepped forward. The priest pulls out the stone. Nope, not Simeon. Representative Dan steps forward. Pulls out the stone. Nope, not Dan. Judah steps forward. Oh, yep, it's you. Judah's going to go do this. So there is a good faith point here. The people are trying to go to God. There is a glaring problem coming. Okay? And that's going to lead to the result that we're about to see. And it's really a result that's common. You're going to see the result you don't expect. Okay? Verse 20 says, and to clarify, God said, yes, Judah, you're going to go. Okay? So God said, yes, go. Verse 20 then says, and the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in battle array to fight against them at Gibeah. Then the children of Benjamin came out of Gibeah, and on that day cut down to the ground 22,000 men of the Israelites. Hang on, what happened exactly? This small tribe of Benjamin, the 26,000 soldiers, go up against Israel, and they whooped them. Benjamin cut down 22,000 Israelites. It should have been easy, right? I mean, you've got the number advantage. By the way, you want to know why we're being told that you got these left-handed specialists over here? They mow right through these people like they're nothing. By the way, do you know we don't get a record of any Benjamite that dies yet? I don't know if any of them did die. I assume some did, but it wasn't substantial enough that we're even told they died. So you think the battle's going to be easy. We're going to run right through them. Where does that sound familiar from? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Where you've got an opponent you think is going to be easy, and you just go, we're going to run over them and you lose? Yeah, that's exactly right. They thought it was going to be a no-nothing, but this is no problem. We're going to go. And they get their rear ends whooped. That's exactly what happens here. You remember what the problem was with Ai and why they lost the battle? That's the exact phrase. There is sin in the camp. There's a sin problem. Now, understand something. I'm going to go ahead and set the context for you. Understand something. God is not only about to punish Benjamin for their sinfulness, He's also going to punish Israel at the same time. Now, to be clear, we use a phrase like punish. What does God refer to this as? Judgment. There's sin in the camp. They're all guilty. Now, and I want you to think about what they asked when they went to the tabernacle. Think about their question, okay? But we're going to get a rinse and repeat first, verse 22. And the people, that is, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and again formed the battle line at the place where they put themselves in array on the first day. So I want to add here real quick. I can respect this. All right? They encouraged themselves. I can respect that because this is a little sidebar comment. If you think walking in the pathway of God is always going to be easy, you're delusional. Okay? There are times you're going to have to be encouraged. Which, by the way, is why we have a family here, because I might need encouraged. Stephen encourages me. I help encourage Clive when he doesn't feel good. Brother Ernie encourages Dupree. Dupree encourages Lindsay. That's why we have this family. We're up here lifting each other. They just got backhanded. They needed encouraging. So I can respect this verse. 23 says, Then the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I again draw near for battle against the children of my brother Benjamin? And the Lord said, Go up against them. So God again tells them, yes. This is the way in which God's going to display His justice, His judgment. They just don't realize that they're part of this also. Verse 24. So the children of Israel approached the children of Benjamin on the second day. And Benjamin went out against them from Gibeah on the second day and cut down to the ground 18,000 more of the children of Israel, all those that drew the sword. So I feel sure this is not what they expected. When we start talking about a war of 400,000 to 26, who thought we'd be reading at 40,000 lost of Israel so far? Anybody who read ahead, I guess. The fact that not many are shaking their head, y'all didn't read ahead. That these 26,000 did not come to play. 40,000 of Israel hath now paid the price. And again, we're not told one Benjamite has died yet. I feel sure some did, but we're not told here. Let's look at it from the two camps real quick. If you're Israel, how are you feeling right now? Are you confused? Down is a good one. Angry would be a good one.
Why is God telling us to go fight when all they're going to do?
Why would God do this? If you're a Benjamite, how are you feeling? You're feeling pretty good about yourself, right? Do you think you feel invincible at this point? I mean, every time they come against us, we whoop them. What do you think's the problem with that feeling? It leads to something else very dangerous. Pride. You know what pride goes before? The fall. Exactly right. First, let's see Israel's response. And is anybody in here asking the question yet to themselves, why would God tell them to go ahead and we keep losing? Anybody asking that question? Okay, good. I want you to think about what's happened twice now when they went before God, okay? Because when you read it the third time, I'm going to ask you what the glaring difference is. Major difference, okay? Verse 26. Then all the children of Israel, In fact, I'm going to read this a little bit slow. Then all the children of Israel, that is, all the people, went up and came to the house of God and wept. Now, we've heard that before, right? Everybody's heard that. They sat there before the Lord and fasted until evening. No, we haven't read that yet. And they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. Have we read that yet? So the children of Israel inquired of the Lord. The ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet go again out to battle against the children of my brother Benjamin, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand. Now it's starting to click for them. Did you notice some differences here? What are some of the differences? Really, there's two major ones.
Ask God.
See, now they're going humbly. You hear it's not, all right, God, who needs to go fight this battle? You notice how the question is at the end? Shall I go again? Should I go do this? But when they come to God, see, it's one thing to be sad about the problem. It's another thing to come and approach God very differently. The second time, they wept, oh no, we lost, we're sad, all these, we're just so sad. But what did they not do the second time? Are we told that they made a sacrifice? They brought a peace offering, they did anything other than just go and feel sorry for themselves? See, now this time they come, they're heartbroken again, except now they come fasting, making sacrifices, peace offering, because not only is Benjamin a problem, they've got sin in their camp too. So God is going to use the rest of Israel to judge Benjamin at the same time they're being judged for their problems. So think about it this way. What did Jesus say in the Sermon on the Mount? Why should you not be worried about a speck in someone's eye? What did you say you need to do first before you worry about that speck?
Get it out of your eye.
Get the plank out of your eye first, right? They're worried to death about Benjamin. Worried to death about Benjamin. In fact, by the way, this will be a sermon before too long. I saw this and I saved it when I saw it. I don't know who came up with it. I thought it was the greatest thing I've seen in a long time. But it was a picture of a Bible, and it said, before you use the Bible as a sword, use it as a mirror. There's a lot of depth in that statement right there. Now, does Benjamin have a sin problem? Absolutely they have a sin problem. So did Israel. So now they're with the high priest, and now they go to God again. Now they're making sacrifices. Now they're giving this peace offering. They're fasting. And God answers, go up for tomorrow. Because every time so far, God has said, yes, Judah, yes, do this. What does God say now this time? You notice the difference in God's statement? I will deliver them. Now if that doesn't happen, where's the problem? With God. God said it. If God says it, it's already done. Okay? Day 3, God says, I will deliver them. So they keep going up against Benjamin, oblivious to their own sin. That's essentially the problem. Now, Israel has been humbled. Somebody said that. I think Brother Ernie said that. They've been humbled. So they're making sacrifices. They're realizing they've got a problem too. They've gotten to the right place. Benjamin's about to learn a very tough lesson because that's not where they are. Again, you've won 2 decisive victories. How do you think you feel right now? I've whooped you twice. Guess what's going to happen a third time? I'm going to whoop you again. You can't touch me. What are you going to do? They're about to learn a lesson. Verse 29 says, Then Israel sent men in ambush all around Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the 3rd day and put themselves in battle array against Gibeah as the other times. So the children of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. Remember that phrase. Remember that phrase. They were drawn away from the city. They began to strike down and kill some of the people, as at the other times, in the highways. And you get this parenthetical statement, one of which goes up to Bethel and the other to Gibeah. and in the field about 30 men of Israel. So you've now left the city to chase down these men. What does that mean for the city? Now the city's unguarded, okay? They've left their city. City's unprotected. Verse 32. And the children of Benjamin said, here's their mindset, they are defeated before us as at the first. But the children of Israel said, let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways. So they have a plan. So all the men of Israel rose from their place, put themselves in battle array at Baal Tamar. Then Israel's men in ambush burst forth from their position in the plain of Geba, and 10,000 select men from all Israel came against Geba, and the battle was fierce. Listen to how sad this statement is. But the Benjamites did not know that disaster was upon them. You know how devastating of a phrase that is? Benjamin not one time goes before God. They don't make sacrifice. They're not fasting. Benjamin is acting in pride now. They come out, Israel flees. What do they say? What's their thought process? You think anybody goes, hey, we might better keep some people here at the gate, protect the city? Oh, no, we're beating them like we did last time. Let's just go finish this. So they're acting in pride. They see Israel run away from them, completely unaware it's a trap. They follow along anyways in pride. They leave the city vulnerable. That's not good. Unaware that the people of Israel are hiding around the city. By the way, you remember how arrogantly I said when we started the class we were going to get chapter 20 and 21 done? Let's forget I said that, okay? We're going to skip that whole statement there. Verse 35. But to be fair, I blame Bob and Stephen for these questions. Okay. Verse 35. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed that day 25,100 Benjamites, all those that drew the sword. So the children of Benjamin saw they were defeated. The men of Israel had given ground to the Benjamites because they relied on the men in the ambush whom they had sent against Gibeah. And the men in the ambush quickly rushed upon Gibeah. The men in ambush spread out and struck the whole city with the edge of the sword. So 40,000 Israelites have died so far, okay? How many soldiers did Benjamin have to start this fight? 26,000. 25,100 have now died. All because Benjamin was loyal to these perverted men instead of the rest of their brethren. They refused to hand them over. They've all but been wiped out now because of it. Is loyalty good? I asked you that question earlier. Everybody said yes, loyalty is good. Is it important who you're loyal to? You think that matters? Now, the most important question would then be, who should you be loyal to above all? It took Israel 3 times to learn the lesson. 3 times. You know what Benjamin never did? Not one time did they go to God. Instead, they immediately jumped on the bandwagon to protect these perverted sons of the devil. And not one time went before God. In Israel, they're far from done. Verse 38, now the appointed signal between the men of Israel and the men in ambush was that they'd make a great cloud of smoke rise up from the city. By the way, how do you think a great cloud of smoke rises from the city? You burn the city. You set the city on fire. Whereupon the men of Israel would turn in battle. Now Benjamin had begun to strike and kill about 30 men of Israel, for they said, surely they are defeated before us as in the first battle. But when the cloud began to rise from the city in a column of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and there was the whole city going up in smoke. So it's a military strategy here. What they do is they start, Israel's running away. We can't do it. We're running. This is my slow motion run right here. We're running away. We can't do it. Until they see the smoke and the whole army turns and goes right back towards Benjamin. And you remember what it said about Benjamin? They didn't know the disaster was upon them. What do you think they thought as soon as Israel stopped running and turned? Well, we don't have to wonder. And when the men of Israel turned back, the men of Benjamin panicked, for they saw that disaster had come upon them. Therefore, they turned their backs before the men of Israel in the direction of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them. So basically, when it says they turned their back to them, they're trying to run away. They realize it's over. They try to escape. But the battle overtook them, and whoever came out of the cities, they destroyed in their midst. They surrounded the Benjamites, chased them, and easily trampled them down as far as the front of Gibeah towards the east. So the smoke was the signal, right? We're going to fight now. And all of a sudden, they turned back and they kill all but 900 of them. Again, for a war that didn't have to happen in the first place. Now, verses 44 through 47 are summarizing what we've already talked about. I'm not going to read them because it's just talking about what we just said. But I want you to notice what verse 48 says. You'll have to read verse 48. I don't have it on there.
Let me read.
Go for it.
And the men of Israel turned back against the children of Benjamin and struck them down with the edge of the sword. Every city, men and beasts, people found. They also set fire to all the cities they came to.
So you hear that last phrase? This started over Gibeah, right? Gibeah is the problem. Now what did it cost them? Every city they came to, they set on fire. Now, do we read in the Bible God told them to do that? No. So did Israel overstep? Did they have information we don't have? I don't know. I'm going to say they went too far, but I don't know that. God is judging now Benjamin for what they've done, plus Israel. Now, the irony here that we'll pick up on and briefly touch on next week, we're willing, is they're immediately going to feel sorry about this. Oh, how are we here with one tribe not present? Because Benjamin's basically been destroyed. So we'll pick up there next week, and then we'll end the study of Judges. One more week. All right, any questions on this chapter? Did one of y'all just say no from that door? No, they catch one. Well, if God was in control, there was always the problem. They held the seed there on earth. They were so fixated on Benjamin. What happened with Dan? That wasn't their own sin. You're not told. I was at the burger. That's why they had the high priest. He kept that in his best. Boys raised it.
Yeah.